The Rambler Network.
Welcome to the Pacific Coast, where the vast and serene holds more secrets than you could ever imagine. From ghost ships adrift in the fog to unsolved disappearances, we explore the mysteries that lurk along the shore. Join us as we unravel the enigmas that are oddly Pacific. Sometimes, the most unsettling mysteries aren't carved in blood or violence. Sometimes they slip quietly into history. On a gray November afternoon in 1971, a man in a dark suit walked into Portland International Airport. He looked ordinary, calm, anonymous. He bought a one-way ticket to Seattle. To airline staff, he was polite. To the flight attendants, courteous. To the passengers, invisible. But in his briefcase, he carried the spark of one of the most audacious crimes in American history. A crime that would unfold in minutes, vanish in hours, and intrigue the Pacific Northwest for decades. On November 24th, 1971, Thanksgiving Eve, a man calling himself Dan Cooper stepped up to the Northwest Orient ticket counter at Portland International Airport. He paid $20 cash for a one-way flight to Seattle. No ID, no questions. This was pre-9/11. Flight 305 was a short trip, barely 30 minutes in the air. A Boeing 727 with 36 passengers, 6 crew, and one very calm, very prepared man in seat 18C. This is the story of D.B. Cooper, a name you've probably heard, but one you've never truly known. He hijacked a plane, parachuted into a storm, and disappeared into legend. And he did it all without hurting a single soul. Tonight, we follow a ghost who walked into the clouds and never came back down. He was dressed in a dark suit, a black tie with a mother-of-pearl tie clip, and a neatly pressed white shirt. He carried a black case. Witnesses later described him as in his mid-40s, olive-skinned, possibly Latino or white, calm but intense. He ordered a bourbon and soda while the plane ascended into the cold gray skies above Oregon. At 3 p.m., about 10 minutes after takeoff, he handed a folded note to flight attendant Florence Schaffner. She thought it was just another businessman flirting. She stuffed it into her purse without looking. He leaned closer. "Miss, you better read that. I have a bomb." She read it. "I have a bomb in my briefcase. I will use it if necessary. I want you to sit next to me. You are being hijacked." He opened the case. Inside, red cylinders, wires, a battery. It looked real and ready. He told her his demands: $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, 2 primary, 2 reserve, and a fuel truck waiting in Seattle to refuel the plane for a getaway. The note was taken, and so was the fear. Seattle authorities scrambled. The FBI got involved. The airline quietly agreed to his terms. As the plane circled the skies above for over 2 hours, waiting for the money and parachutes to be gathered, Cooper was polite, calm. He offered to buy the crew dinner once this was all over. At 5:39 p.m., Flight 305 landed at Seattle-Tacoma Airport under the cover of darkness. Cooper let all 36 passengers go in exchange for the cash and parachutes. He kept the flight crew. The crew refueled. The money was brought aboard. 10,000 $20 bills, non-sequential, marked for tracking. Cooper inspected the loot and the gear. And then he laid out his escape plan. He told the crew to fly to Mexico City at minimum airspeed, around 170 knots and to stay below 10,000 feet. Cabin depressurized, landing gear down, flaps partially deployed. This configuration was strange, and it was dangerous. And it was very, very specific. At 7:40 p.m., the plane took off again, heading south. Somewhere over southwestern Washington, just past the town of Ariel, near the cold black vastness of Mount St. Helens, the aft staircase of the Boeing 727 lowered. The crew felt a sudden change in pressure, a rush of air, a shift in balance. At 8:13 p.m., the man known as D.B. Cooper jumped into the storm. He wore a business suit, loafers, and a parachute that wasn't military grade. He carried $200,000 strapped to his body. Below him, dense forest, freezing rain, total darkness. And then, nothing. The search began instantly, but it led nowhere. No body, no parachute, no trace. The FBI opened what they called NORJAC, short for Northwest Hijacking. It became one of the most extensive manhunts in American history. They scoured the wilderness, tracked every bill, questioned suspects from Army vets to ex-cons to amateur skydivers. They even investigated a man named D.B. Cooper, entirely by coincidence. He was never the hijacker, but a reporter misheard the name and the legend stuck. One of the most haunting clues wouldn't surface until 1980. 8-year-old Brian Ingram was digging in the sand along the Columbia River near Tina Bar, about 20 miles downstream from Portland. He unearthed 3 packets of rotting $20 bills, waterlogged, torn, but traceable. They matched the serial numbers from the ransom money. No other trace was found nearby. It was as if the river itself had swallowed Cooper whole and then coughed up just enough to remind him he was real. And so we ask, who was he? Some believe he was a former paratrooper or CIA operative. Others claim he was a railroad worker, a sociopath, or an insider from Boeing itself. One theory even suggests he never intended to survive, that the jump was suicide wrapped in spectacle. There are even wilder theories, though, like the idea that Cooper was never real at all, that the hijacking was just a staged event to hide something else, a smokescreen for Cold War espionage or deep state activity. No proof. But then again, no proof for anything else either. Over the decades, hundreds of suspects would be named. Some were compelling. None were proven. My personal favorite suspect is Richard Floyd McCoy Jr. He is often considered one of the most convincing suspects in the D.B. Cooper case. A Vietnam veteran, helicopter pilot, and recreational skydiver, McCoy seemed to possess the perfect skill set for pulling off the hijacking. He even bore a striking physical resemblance to Cooper as described by witnesses. In April of 1972, just 5 months after the Cooper hijacking, McCoy committed his own copycat crime, boarding a United Airlines flight from Denver to L.A. He handed a note to a flight attendant demanding $500,000 and 4 parachutes. Like Cooper, he carried what appeared to be a bomb. Like Cooper, he released the passengers once his demands were met. And, like Cooper, he lowered the rear staircase of the Boeing 27 and leapt into the night sky. But, unlike Cooper, McCoy didn't vanish. He left behind clues, fingerprints on a magazine, the handwriting on his note, and most damning of all, the money itself, found in his possession. Within days, he was arrested and sentenced to 45 years in prison. McCoy never admitted to being Cooper, though some FBI agents and researchers remain convinced he was. His own family denied the connection, insisting the 2 hijackings were separate. And in 1974, after escaping prison in a stolen garbage truck, McCoy was tracked down by the FBI and killed in a shootout. The FBI officially closed the case in 2016 after 45 years. They said they needed to focus their resources elsewhere. But not everyone gave up. The Pacific Northwest still remembers him. A bar in Ariel holds an annual D.B. Cooper party. Locals trade theories, kids dress up as hijackers. It's part cryptid, part outlaw myth, a celebration of the unknown. And yet, there's something unsettling about how clean the mystery is, how perfectly designed it seems to be forgotten. Like a ghost made of smoke and dollar bills, Dewey Cooper didn't just vanish into the night. He became it. And in the process, he became oddly Pacific. If you have any theories or thoughts on this or any other story I cover, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out on social media at Rambler Network on Instagram and X, or visit ramblernetwork.com. Intro and outro music is Oceanus by Flat Sound Works from pixabay.com.
The Rambler Network.